Imagine you've just booked a trip to a remote coastline and you're already picturing those sweeping shots of cliffs, surf, and the golden hour light, except you're also thinking about how easy it will be to get those cinematic clips without spending a weekend wrestling with a clunky rig. That's the exact spot I was in a few weeks ago, debating whether dropping a few $100s on a new drone would actually give me the footage I need, or just another piece of tech that sits in a bag gathering dust. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. And I'm going to walk through why the DJI Mavic 4 Pro might be the right or wrong choice for you before you hand over your money. First off, the Mavic 4 Pro isn't just a bigger camera on a drone upgrade. It's the first DJI model to pair a full-frame 4/3 type 100MP Hasselblad sensor with a 6K per 60 frames per second HDR video pipeline. For most hobbyists, that still means a lot of data to handle. But for creators who need that extra dynamic range in sunrise or sunset conditions, it can be a game changer. The real question is whether you actually need that level of image fidelity when you're shooting from 150 feet up, or if a 4K-capable consumer drone would already meet your needs. Let's start with ease of use. DJI has been polishing the user interface for years, and the Mavic 4 Pro continues that trend. The remote, the Jerk 2, feels like a compact game controller with dedicated sticks for pitch, yaw, and a thumb wheel for exposure adjustments. The on-screen menu is layered, but it's largely context-aware. When you switch to cinematic mode, the screen automatically surfaces the most relevant settings: shutter speed, ISO, and focus lock. I found that after a short 10-minute familiarization, I could launch the drone, set a 3-point focus lock on a distant lighthouse, and let the gimbal do the rest without digging through endless submenus. That said, if you're a complete beginner who's never touched a drone, the sheer number of options, especially around HDR and color profiles, can feel overwhelming at first. The learning curve isn't fatal, but expect to spend a bit of time watching the quick start videos before you feel comfortable in creative mode. Autofocus on a moving aerial platform is traditionally a weak point, but the Mavic 4 Pro's sensor shift stabilization and AI-driven focus system seem to have closed that gap. While I was tracking a kite on a breezy day, the camera kept the kite sharp even as the drone fought gusts. The focus lock stayed reliable up to about 0.1 lux, which means you can actually capture decent Nightscape footage without pulling out a separate lighting kit. In practice, I used it to film a city skyline after dusk. The colors were muted but still retained detail, and the sensor's low-light capability prevented the usual grainy noise you see on smaller sensors. If you plan to shoot in dim conditions, think twilight weddings, nighttime real estate tours, or even wildlife, this is a concrete advantage over the previous Mavic line. Stabilization is where the Infinity Gimbal 360 rotation claim truly shines. The gimbal can rotate a full 360 degrees without hitting its mechanical limits, allowing you to do dramatic barrel rolls or smooth horizon flips that would have been impossible on older models. In a test run over a forest canopy, the footage stayed buttery smooth even when I engaged the sport mode and the drone surged forward at its top speed of 51 meters per second. The only downside I noticed was that the extra gimbal freedom adds a tiny bit of weight, shaving off roughly 5 minutes from the already respectable 45-minute battery life. If you're planning a day of continuous aerial filming, you'll probably need an extra battery or two, which is an extra cost to factor in. Now, about the lens ecosystem. Unlike interchangeable lens cameras, the Mavic 4 Pro's Hasselblad sensor comes with a fixed 24mm equivalent lens that's been tuned for minimal distortion. That's great for wide landscape shots, but it also means you're stuck with that focal length unless you resort to digital zoom in post-production. For creators who rely on varied perspectives, tight close-ups of architecture, portrait-style aerial shots, or macro details from above, this could feel limiting. Some users get around this by pairing the drone with DJI's zoom mode, which digitally crops while preserving 6K resolution, but the result isn't the same as having an optical zoom lens. If you need that flexibility, a separate camera rig on a gimbal might still be the better route. Menu friction is minimal during basic flight, but once you dive into the advanced video settings like adjusting D-Log color profiles, toggling HDR, or configuring the obstacle avoidance parameters, the remote's interface can become a bit busy. I found myself accidentally toggling the spotlight feature while trying to fine-tune exposure, which caused the drone to follow a moving subject I hadn't intended. It's not a fatal flaw. A quick glance at the on-screen icon tells you what's active, but it does reinforce the importance of double-checking your settings before a takeoff, especially when you're in a location where you can't afford a crash.